Hi, welcome to UCLA Podcast. I am Simon.
Winnie.
Judy.
Kenny.
And this is Spill the Tea.
We'll get it one day. It's okay.
We're still trying on the second episode. And for today, our topic will be discussing the Muslim concentration camp that is happening in China. First, for people who doesn't know what is going on, since last year, 2009 summer, there has been leaked videos and documents of evidence of these concentration camps in Xinjiang, China. And now it's estimated up to like more than 1 million Uyghurs are being detained in these concentration camps. And I have a video here that I want to share with everyone, and just to get a little bit of information about what is going on. And sorry guys, give me 1 second.
Wait, why are we starting with such a serious topic in the beginning?
On the
second episode, we're talking about real stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And
Credit to CBS News.
Mm-hmm.
No copyright intended.
Okay, yes, this video is owned by CBS News, and
please like and subscribe to their channel.
No, we're not plugging them.
This is for educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up.
Like and subscribe to our
Here,
channel.
look inside China's controversial internment camps. More than 1 million Uyghurs and others belonging to various Muslim minority groups are believed to be detained in the Xinjiang region.
China calls them thought transformation camps built to prevent extremism from spreading, but reports indicate they're more like prisons. BBC News correspondent John Sudworth got exclusive access to one camp.
China used to deny it was holding hundreds of thousands of Muslims in giant secure facilities like this one. But now we're being given a tour. The message: these people are not prisoners, but students, willingly subjecting themselves to a kind of brainwashing. Is it your choice to be here?
Yes, I was affected by extremism. I've come here to transform my thoughts.
Government officials watch over every interview. This is how Xinjiang's Muslims, the Uyghurs, the Kazakhs and other minorities have their thoughts transformed. Rote learning Chinese and laws restricting religious practice, and replacing loyalty to faith or culture with something else. I love the Communist Party of China, this man has written. It isn't a place where people have to stay until you allow them to leave. Sound more like a prison, even if it's a prison in which you can do some art.
I don't know what you mean by prison. This is indeed a training center.
Over the past few years, a vast network of camps has been built across Xinjiang. But in the places we're being taken to, internal security fencing and what look like watchtowers have recently been taken down. And exercise yards have been transformed into sports facilities, raising the suspicion that these are merely show camps. Rakima Senbei, who now lives in Kazakhstan, tells me she was detained just for having WhatsApp on her phone, experiencing violence and mistreatment over more than a year in a number of Chinese camps, including this one. Places, she says, where displays of happiness are reserved for visiting officials or journalists.
I experienced it myself. We were told ahead of the visit, if any of you speak out, you'll go to a worse place than this. That's why everyone does what they're told, including dancing and singing.
What, one wonders, might these people have been told by the officials ahead of our visit? They've been convicted of no crime, faced no trial. But China now believes it can determine their guilt in advance.
Some people, before they commit murder, already show they are capable of it. Should we wait for them to commit a crime or prevent it from happening?
There's a lot of testimony. We have some ourselves from people who've been through the system who describe torture, overcrowding, separation from families.
These aren't the important issues. The main thing is taking a person on the edge of crime and returning them to normal society.
These, then, are pre-criminals, wearing uniforms and sleeping up to 10 a room with a shared toilet and no idea how many months or years they'll have to stay. We try to film other camps with their watchtowers and barbed wire still in place. The giant facilities look much less like schools, and we're much less welcome. We return after dark and listen as the sound of thoughts being transformed echoes late into the night. John Sudworth, BBC News, Xinjiang.
So, what are your guys' reaction to this video?
This is super heartbreaking. As you guys may know, we are part of UCLA, and we always try to celebrate like Chinese culture and our background, but just because we celebrate our culture doesn't mean that there aren't faults in the country. And I think this is one of those things that we need to speak openly about, because even though this has been going on for more than a year, it seems as though there are not a lot of people speaking about it. And only recently has this issue been getting as much attention that it has. So I'm glad that it's finally being addressed this way. Yeah.
Like, I know this is messed up, but I feel like China has so much power, like, on the rest of the world. Like, even if we, like, people in America don't find that what they're doing is good, like, I don't think our government's able to do anything. Like, same thing with the Hong Kong protests. Like, we all knew that that was happening and that what's happening is bad, but our government never stepped in. And I don't think our government's going to step in now, which is kind of fucked up too.
Winnie?
I mean, like what Kenny says kind of has a point. I mean, like, I think we're also dealing with our own things as well, but like, it's not to say that like this is like not a problem, because it is a problem. I think when I was looking at it, it just kind of reminds me of like, so I went to Taiwan like a few months ago, like in January, and they were talking about how like in the past, I think Taiwan was, I believe it was taken by Japan, and then even though like they had their own culture there, like the Japanese wanted to basically like change them into Japanese subjects and like basically like brainwash them and basically like change their language, change like the way that they subscribe to like to religion and everything. So I feel like it kind of reminds me of this, of how like they're trying to change them in like their thoughts and like what their religion is as well. So I find it just gave me that kind of like similarities, I would say. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was like watching it. Yeah.
Right, you had a personal, like a interpersonal connection to this, like to this issue. And also, like, wasn't Taiwan also occupied, like the Japan occupied it, but afterwards it was occupied by China, the communist, not the Communist Party, the one that was against the communists, who the leader, Jiang Jie.
Huh? I'm not too sure about
Yeah, I'm not trying to. Yeah, the Nationalist Party that escaped the Communist Party and escaped to Taiwan. Right, I'm not trying to make this into a Taiwan history, but I definitely get what Winnie is saying, and it has been compared to one of the greatest atrocities that has ever been committed, the Holocaust. And the Holocaust, it was around like millions of people, got rounded up. But this is also similar, but I feel like it's very discreet. Why I say that is also going back to Kenny's point of, Kenny said China is really powerful at the moment. Like, and our government is not stepping in. My question is, like, although we're all humans and we should care about each other, can our government step in? It's not America. It is all the way millions of miles across sea with another very dominant power where we rely on trade with, we give them technology. America has their own power, but China has their own power too. So like, I feel like as American or as other countries, we don't have a lot of power into like what China is doing, but in no way, shape, or form, like Judy said, although we are the United Chinese Language Association, like it doesn't represent. No way is interning Muslims, Uyghurs, is that a part of Chinese culture? Okay,
Absolutely not.
yeah, absolutely. It also goes with like the COVID and the people thinking everybody from China is carrying the virus. That's BS, But yeah, would you guys, going back to the subtleness of this, like everything is being changed, they call it a mind transferring process, or like try to get rid of their radical thinking. In your guys' opinion, if they are actually taking them to these camps and there are trainings of literature, dancing, art, painting, would you guys consider that prison?
Don't they offer the same thing at prison? Like they have a courtyard, right? And some prisons they offer art classes for the inmates. It's basically prison because they're not allowed out, right?
I feel like we have to evaluate the intention of this, right? So what is their intention? Like, I've heard this being referred to as a vocational school, like you're teaching them lessons on like things that they might need for the future, like job skills. But is this truly what they're actually trying to provide to these Uyghurs? I think we can all agree that what they're actually trying to do is trying to have uniformity in China, because in uniformity, there's power, right? You don't want to have any like radical thoughts. You don't want other religions, a dominance of other languages. And I feel like that's such a big flaw in that thinking, because China is not just Han Chinese people. Like there's so many other ethnic groups. And I feel like there's so much power from the fact that there's diversity in China, that it's not as uniform as people in America may think. Like Chinese people are not just simply Chinese people. Like there's just so much more to our culture. So it just aggravates me that instead of embracing that, they're trying to make all the ethnic groups in China more like Han Chinese, and not allowing them to practice their religious traditions or speak their languages. I just don't see the need for that kind of uniformity, because I think there's even greater power in diversity. So it just frustrates me like crazy. And then in terms of vocational schools, all that, like the teaching them is really just so that they have a way of thinking that aligns with the Communist Party, right? Like they want to teach them aspects about Chinese culture. They want to teach them traditional dances. They want them to be familiar with the Chinese language. And that's really all a way for them to be distanced from their own native languages and culture. So in that way, it is very much a prison, because you're being denied your right to, practice your own traditions.
You have any thoughts?
Oh, okay. So what I was gonna say was that like Judy's exactly right, because like first of all, like Sammy, your question. So like we know that like they're doing art classes, they're doing dance classes, they're learning more about like Han Chinese culture, whatever. But that's literally only what like the news has portrayed. But we will never know exactly what is going behind closed doors. So it's kind of like, okay, like we can see all this pretty nice setup, but is that like really what's going on? Like like did you saw like
they call it a show camp?
Yeah, exactly.
Show.
Exactly. So it's like you never really know if this is what they're really doing. Like this could be a lot worse than we like probably will never know, behind closed doors. The fact that they're like oh, like people like they'll sing and dance like for the fear of like, oh, if they don't listen they'll go somewhere that's even worse, that like you don't even know that like, oh, like they can't just like defy this because their lives could be in danger. Or it could be like I forgot my train of thought, but basically like we never know like what's really happening. So like the fact that like, yeah, even they're doing all these pretty things and like they don't get to leave, like regardless, it depends on like the people in charge if they get to leave or not. Like that is basically a prison. Like like that's completely true. Also, Judy, to your point of the fact that like they're trying to like make everything more Han Chinese. So I took this modern China class like in high school. So I don't even know if my like stuff is accurate, but basically they were saying how like the fact that like China isn't just made of like Han Chinese people is because there was like this time, like this period of time where like China was like conquering other countries, so like Mongolia and like places like far away, so that like China was kind of more lax about like, oh, like they're a part of China, but like like they're basically governing themselves because they were so far away from the capital.
First off, the China is already so big. Back then, China's even huger, and we don't have phones. We don't have it's horses and birds. You know what I mean? They have to have officers all over the China to report to the emperor because it was so huge. So yeah, to that point, Winnie, sorry to interrupt.
You're good. But like that's like the reason why like there was like so much diversity, because the fact that like they conquered other countries from before, and then like
a lot of mixing of
yeah. So like you're completely right when like they're trying to like basically convert everyone to like Han Chinese, because like that's, I guess like they're trying to standardize it so that like they don't have fallouts like with Tibet and with Taiwan and Hong Kong. So like that's like probably why like they're trying to do this. So yeah, I guess like that's how I kind of view like why they do what they did, which is like not okay, because you're absolutely right, like diversity is crucial for sure.
I feel like, and this is gonna be a long one, guys. I'm sorry, but so I actually disagree with what Judy said about unity. I feel like it is very important for any country to have unity. For example, analogy in America, right? We consider all of us American, right? But like if there's black people, there's white people, there's also like different regions also gives you different identities, but we still can be unified as Americans. But like the definition of being American is not unified as well. Now going back to like the China example, I feel like there's a pro to being united. So for example, my mom always brings this up, the mask thing. Because in China, people are all united and listens to a government, the corona got like, the spike went down because everybody was going along. In America, you can't tell me what to do, my freedom, my right. But then they're also like the same type of people who want to ask for like government restrictions on certain things like abortion. But we're not going to talk about it here. But like it's kind of ironic how they want certain people who want certain government protection, but then don't listen to the government at the same time. But here, to China's point, the government can be very it can get out of hand and it can turn oppressive, like censorship. And to what Winnie's saying, even if the dancing and like performance and whatever is going on, right, which we know is probably for show, I would still personally consider it a prison, because you are being taken away from your family for like months at a time, and not only is your life put in danger, like Winnie said, you might be taken to somewhere worse, but your family's life in danger. There was like another story that I heard, like this person who spoke out about the government from another country. So they were from China, but they went to another country and they're like a celebrity. So they spoke out about this issue about China. A few days later, her whole family disappeared. Like, then it's like, that is like the fear of, how am I supposed to speak out about this thing? That's why I feel like a part of why this issue isn't being well known is because, one, there's a lot of people inside China who are being censored about speaking out about this. And it's not just Muslim. We see it all over. Like WeChat, they censor that. You can't talk bad about the government in China. Even the doctor who reported COVID in November, he got censored. Like there's a lot of things about censorship going on. So, but yeah, sorry to ramble a little bit on. But like going back to the topic at hand, there was a controversy about. So we were planning on doing Mulan live action for our philanthropy #1, and we changed that because there was some controversy about Mulan being filmed in Xinjiang, and many people don't want to support Mulan or Disney anymore because how can you film in such a like you're being unaware of what's going on and you're indirectly giving support to China. My question is, what is your guys' opinion? Like if you guys were Disney or just someone looking from outside in, do you guys support Disney and like, oh, you guys are innocent, Mulan is just a movie of its own? Or do you guys are against Disney, like y'all should have been smarter, you guys should have used this point because Disney has a lot of power, use this point to make it awareness, like, oh, we're filming Mulan, but guess what's happening in Xinjiang right now? Boom. You know what I mean? Like they could have used that to make themselves look so much better to our generation, I feel like. But what are your guys' opinion?
I have a lot to say, so I can.
Winnie, go ahead. Go first, girl.
No,
We've been having you last.
So much to say.
No, I feel like go first. Go first.
I guess. Okay, so like I feel like from like a marketing perspective, because like this movie was very interesting inside and outside of the movie. Also, I watched it yesterday, so I'm just like.
I watched it yesterday.
It was not worth it. Honestly, it's not worth paying the $30. Let me just straight out say that.
$30.
It was $30. I think so. Yeah, on Disney Plus.
You had to buy Disney Plus the membership plus another charge on top of buying the.
Did you actually pay for it, or?
No, we pirated it. I pirated
it. Worth it.
We pirated it. Okay.
Don't say that. Okay. So basically, like they like honestly like with Disney, like they're known as like the brand that like makes magic happen or whatever. So it looks so bad on them that like they did this, and the fact that the CEOs never saw like the like people looking for like the credits and seeing like the Xinjiang like camps like being credited, so that looks really really bad on Disney. And the fact that
not the camps themselves, but like Xinjiang, yeah,
exactly.
I want to make it.
Thank you, because and then the fact that like what's it called, the main girl, like the main actress, like she was she really got into like the like supporting the police for like the pro Hong Kong like democracy. Okay.
She was supporting she was standing with the police in Hong Kong. So it's basically I guess like it's like an anti-protester move, which is the protesters are protesting for democracy. So I guess it's against the protesters.
Against the protesters basically. And then the fact that like I like kind of just like lost my train of thought. Like the live action, right? It's not based on like the animated version at all. Like animated version was specifically for like American foreign audiences, while this was really, I kind of agree that it kind of pandered to Chinese nationalism. The fact that they used the main actress and they put Donnie Yen, I believe that's his name. So like these are two actors or actresses that are well known in Chinese households. They consulted like Chinese officials, basically like making sure that like the Chinese audience would like it, and the fact that they
Chinese household.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that was just cute, the term that you used. They consulted the Chinese household.
Chinese officials, like they consulted like to make sure everything in their power that the Chinese audience would like it, and the fact that like it would be able to be filmed there and it'd be able to be distributed there, and the fact that like there are so many things that are like against democracy, and the fact that this happened, it completely like made like foreign audiences like not like this movie. But the fact that like again, like what Kenny said, like the Chinese audience has so much sway. Like the NBA team got canceled because of like what they said about like supporting Hong Kong, like stuff like that. Like it just reminds you that like China has so much power, and like there's not really a lot that we can do about like certain things. Honestly, the movie was just like
trash. Trash. You can say it. It's trash.
It wasn't a terrible
Garbage.
movie.
Next.
It's that the plot armor just killed me. Like there was just so much plot armor, but like it again, it mostly pandered to like China nationalism and the fact that like the movie, like it's mostly about like the tale of Mulan that like Chinese people knew. So like for us, it's gonna be a lot different than like the animated. Plus, they took out Mushu. Like, yeah, because like they were told that like it wasn't gonna work with Chinese audiences. That Mushu, like for Mushu, so they took him out. Yeah.
A dragon? I kind of feel like it's also like whitewashing to like put a dragon. But Mulan, we can admit it's pretty whitewashed. Despite you saying that they're catering towards like a Chinese audience, I feel like they're pretty whitewashed. In sense, like I feel like they wanted to cater to the Chinese culture and the Chinese audience and be appropriated and like not get canceled and be like, oh, we did all of this, they got slack for Pocahontas, that was some pedo. Like Pocahontas was like, in reality, she was like 12 or 13, okay? But there was a lot of whitewash. And then now they're going back now to wanting to make it very cultural. But I also feel like they also did that wrong as well. Because they make it so culturally, but it's still a white person's, like, although some aspects were very correct, like the some family aspects got me choked up. I'm like, oh, as an Asian now I can feel it. But also like the scenery, things like that were accurate, but I feel like it was just too I would disagree that it didn't have a political message behind it. I feel like they were very neutral. It showcased more of like true side of Chinese culture, but at the same time, going back to what you said about like the Chinese government, I feel like the Chinese, like you saying Donnie Yip, like went out to make sure everything was okay and stuff like that. I feel like the Chinese government is only showing Disney, which is us, the audience, what they want you to see. We're going to show you the beautiful sceneries of Xinjiang. We're going to show you the beautiful meadows of Xinjiang, the nature. Look at the scenery, the culture. Behind the scenes, you pass that mountain. Almost cursed there. You pass that mountain, you see a whole camp full of people who are oppressed. So I just feel like they're just showing what they want to show, but it's just very contradictory. And I feel like Disney, Donnie Yip, whoever, everyone could have done a way better job in selecting this place and having that and be like, yo, Disney's a powerful industry too. China, we don't need you, baby. We can film somewhere else. Mulan, this can be canceled. It's more about the message, especially to our audience now. People don't even support Mulan because of like because of this whole incident. So the message behind the younger generation, our generation, is much more important now because of internet. Back then, birds and horses, who's gonna know about people getting like interned all the way in China? I'm just saying. But now, because of internet, we're able to see this. But sorry, I just wanted to speak on that. But Kenny or Judy or Winnie, I saw you wanted to ask something.
Last thing. Okay, I agree with what you're saying. So like, I think that like their intention was to pander to like Chinese nationalism, but like they also tried to please like foreign audiences as well with like adding a little bit of like the song lyrics from like the animated version. But in the end, like with all this controversy and everything, it just ended up not pleasing anybody.
Right. But there's still a lot of people who bought it and made money from it. But Kenny,
that's true.
I didn't watch the movie. I just heard the actor did support the Hong Kong police. And like some people were like defending her, like, oh, the government has control over her. But like, did she voluntarily like say that to social media?
I think so, yeah. Like she just
I
posted
feel like
I think. Go on.
I was gonna say I feel like it's difficult to tell because right around when the Hong Kong protests were really reaching a height in international media, I feel like a lot of Chinese celebrities were expressing their support for the Hong Kong police. So, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these celebrities speaking out didn't do it voluntarily. Like, it could have been like their company that like urged them to do it.
I also feel like we can't take a post and just say and run away with it and say like, oh, because you support this is your character like all the way. Like we don't know who that person is like on a personal level. And even if she support Hong Kong, I'm not gonna treat her any different way. Do you know what I mean? Or like have Mulan. Well, that's just my personal view, but some people might feel differently. But I just feel like actors, if they are put into a situation where they have to say something that they don't stand for, I feel like they have a choice of not saying it at all. Because I actually disagree with that part of saying like if they don't volunteer, like somebody force them. I feel like in this day and age, like if you force someone, someone's gonna know about it. But I feel like them expressing their views, I feel like it wasn't smart of the actor to even voice that because knowing that she's gonna get so much backlash. Do you know what I mean? I feel like she just, should have remained neutral. But I respect her views 100%, even though, it might be against mine. But Kenny, you want to finish up?
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. My bad.
Your like Disney was filmed in Xinjiang. Like, what are your thoughts about that? And like, do you think it's right?
I mean, out of all places that they could have chose, why choose that one?
I actually don't know like if Mulan's backstory was tied to Xinjiang, but my point of view was no matter if they were filming there or not, you're going to China, and you should have used this as a message to
So I read that like basically you know how Mulan probably took place in like a specific dynasty, right? So
Right.
another like advisement that like the Chinese officials had, I guess, was basically like don't talk about a specific dynasty. So the entire movie they just say the dynasty, like you saved the dynasty, but they never say like which one. So like that's probably like on purpose. So technically they didn't have to, I think, like film in Xinjiang, but they did. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know why they filmed in Xinjiang. I'm curious to know why, so I'll probably do some research after this. But yeah, as Kenny mentioned, like out of all places, it's not as if they specify any location in the film. I didn't watch the film, but I'm assuming there was like no location that was specified. So I don't see why, they would film there. And I think, Simon, you mentioned earlier about how like Disney could have used this as a platform for them to speak out like a issue. But I think, because Disney is like an international brand, they might not feel eager to speak out against it. Because after all, they do have a Chinese audience. There's like Disneyland in Shanghai. There's still
Shanghai.
a presence of Disney in China. So I think in a sense, like Disney was really trying to not only recreate like a classic, but also to appeal to the Chinese crowd and rake in profits from the Chinese crowd. Because we all know, like, because there's so many people in China, if this blows up and it's successful, then, that could be a really big thing for Disney. So I think that was more of their aim. But obviously, as Winnie had mentioned earlier, Disney is known for making magic happen. Like, we want to think of Disney as like a really wholesome and, innocent thing, but just like any other industry, like it just comes to show that they're interested in money as well.
You say that. Sorry, Kenny.
Did the movie even break even? No, right?
I haven't checked the box office or stuff like that for it. It's just the controversy drowned out the success of the movie.
Yeah, I think
I guess it wouldn't be as successful.
From this.
What was I gonna say? Frick.
I think you were gonna argue against me on something.
No. I totally agree with you, but like the issue itself, I feel like even though Disney has a presence, like Disney want to stay neutral on this, right? But catering to a Chinese like audience, like wasn't it? They didn't have the language change or like subtitle. They don't even have it in Mandarin. Like they didn't even have it in Chinese. They have some language that was less popular than Mandarin or like Chinese, and it's a Chinese movie too, and you don't have Chinese subtitles.
I think it depends on where the movie's being released. Like if it's still released.
Wait, what movie?
Mulan.
Wait. Which language? I mean, you said
Chinese.
less popular.
Like no. I it's so I'm sorry to bash on this language, but like it's so unpopular. I didn't even remember.
What language then?
But the
Like, are
thing
you
is,
sure
but
it
the thing
wasn't
is,
just the
like,
version
wouldn't
that
you
you
think,
pirated?
like, wouldn't you think though, a Chinese movie that is like well known because it's already animated in China and that's like filmed in China to have a Chinese subtitle? They don't even have Chinese subtitle for some reason.
I think it depends on where the film is being released, like which
Yeah,
country.
exactly. I think the one that you pirated must have been like for a different country.
No, it's Netflix. No, not
What?
Netflix. Is it not Netflix? Disney Plus. It was like a
Disney
screenshot,
Plus?
like a picture of someone like saying like on TikTok, like or Twitter or something like that. Like, oh, they don't even have subtitles for but
Chinese. But there's no Disney Plus in China, I don't think.
That's what I'm
So I don't think they would whatever
not
version released
them.
internationally.
It's in America. Like someone posted. That's why I said Twitter. Like, of course they don't have Twitter in China. Someone posted like on Twitter, like they don't even have Chinese subtitles because as like from Asian American standpoint, like we might not connect to like the traditional Chinese values, but we grew up and we know about our motherland. You know what I mean? An Asian American, Chinese American, not Asian American, a Chinese American and of course like a Chinese mainlander, they're gonna have different experiences, although they might identify themselves as Chinese. But coming from like our standpoint, just to close this out, as like we said, we are a part of UCLA, and I feel like this topic is really close to our hearts because especially in our generation, it's very diverse. We we go to school with people who are of different race, of different ethnicity, of different religion, and to see this, and in our mind, like in American society, we are against censorship, we are against anti-democracy, we are for free will, free rights, human rights, and stuff like that. So I feel like this is a topic that not only should be touching the hearts of like every American or every human, but just personally, it speaks to us, and UCLA would like to bring more attention to it. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this topic. But that's all the time we have for today. And tune into our next podcast where we talk about our experiences with coronavirus at the moment, and we'll be having exciting new guests on our third episode. So tune into that. But again, thank you guys for tuning in to our second episode where we bring attention to the Uyghur concentration camps. Yeah. So thank you guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
Kenny.